Perform the indicated operation by hand. Then use your calculator to check your work. Now we have to be very careful here because we're not just working multiplying and dividing here. We've also got some addition and subtraction thrown in. So now we've got to start keeping track of all the different rules and different ways we have so far of working with signed numbers when we have different operations. So down at this table down at the bottom of the page, I've summarized the rules for working with signed numbers depending on what operations we're doing. So going down here, we can see the different operations we've worked with so far. We've got addition, and with that is subtraction, because remember when we subtract we add the opposite. And we know that when we're adding signed numbers, if the signs are the same, we take their sum, we add the numbers, and we keep the sign. But if the signs are different, we take the difference of the absolute values and we keep the sign of the larger absolute value. So that's when I'm doing addition, and subtraction gets thrown in there as well. Different rules for multiplying and dividing. When we multiply or divide, if the signs are the same, if they're both positive or both negative, we get a positive result. But if the signs are different, if one's positive and one's negative, we're going to get a negative result. So we want to keep these rules in mind when we approach these problems. So our first problem, -6 plus 9. We're doing addition. And notice that the signs have different signs. So we take the difference. The difference of 9 and 6 is 3. And then to see which sign it should have, well, the 6 was negative, the 9 was positive. This is the larger absolute value for the 9. Since that one was positive, our final answer is going to be positive 3. Our next one, -6 minus 9. And notice I can tell this isn't multiplication because there's no parentheses around that. This is -6 minus 9. So since it's subtraction, let's change it to adding the opposite. -6 plus, instead of subtract, we're going to add the opposite. Subtraction becomes addition. The opposite of 9 is -9. -6 plus -9 is -15. Our next problem looks an awful lot like B, but here in C, notice those parentheses are in place. When that parenthesis is there, I know that I've got this juxtaposition going on. That tells me this is multiplication. Negative times a negative, well, the signs are the same. They're both negative, so I know my answer is going to be positive. And 6 times 9 is 54. So we can write our answer like that, or the better way to write it is just plain old 54. We know that that positive sign is there even though we don't show it. And then in our final problem, be real careful here, -6 over positive 9. Well, negative divided by a positive is a negative. And now you might say, well, wait, 6 divided by 9, how am I supposed to do 6 divided by 9? 9 doesn't go evenly into 6. That's true. So what we can do is we can just think about this as the fraction. This is like saying -3 times 2. And in the denominator, we can think of 9 as 3 times 3. Looking again for that common factor, those 3's are going to cancel out, and my final answer is -2 over 3. So notice how that negative sign came out front here. So now let's use our calculator to just check all of our work, make sure we did everything correctly. And let me get this where we can see things here. So our first one, we did -6 plus 9. So -6 plus 9. When we enter that, we come up with positive 3, exactly like we were hoping for. Let's go ahead and check C since it's on my screen right here. -6 multiplied by -9, and that should be positive 54, which it is. Let's move the calculator over this way and check our other two problems. So -6 minus 9, -6, then we're going to use the minus over here, minus 9 equals -15, just like we saw. And for our last one, we've got -6 divided by positive 9, so I'm just going to do divide by 9, and I'm going to enter it, and it gives me this weird decimal number, but let's see if we can change the decimal to a fraction. Here, up above this PRB, it says F to D. F is fraction and D is decimal, so if we press the second and press that PRB, it says take the answer and change it from a decimal to a fraction. There's my -2/3, just like we were hoping for.